Welcome to the Hippy Dippy Show, you guys. I am one of your hosts, Bo Bowker.
I'm Cassidy Bowker.
And I'm Jeffrey J.
Welcome.
Welcome.
And thank you guys for watching. Please, if you're enjoying the show, not so far because we just started, but like the other episodes, if you enjoy those, tell a friend, tell a family member, tell a coworker if you still have a job. Uh, Tell a hippie. Just go find a random hippie and just tell them about
Yeah.
our show.
Not too hippie-ish, though. They're going to be like, we don't do the internet.
Right, exactly. I was talking to somebody last night, my buddy Chip Davis, probably doesn't like his name being said on the internet because he's such a hippie. But we were talking, he has a teacher named Martin Prechtel. He's a Mayan shaman dude, and he's amazing. And he runs this, it's like a retreat sort of thing. I can't even fully describe it. It's called Bolad's Kitchen. And I don't think it has anything to do with cooking. But you go for like a week or 10 days, like twice a year, and you learn all these things and you talk about a book. And like it's just very like it's a study of culture and it's pretty far out. But I asked Chip, somehow it came up in our conversation last night. I was like, is Martin like why doesn't he use computers? And he said, oh, because when he touches them, they break. They don't work because he's like just super powerful.
What?
Yeah, because it's just like he's just not. His energy just like melts them down, and they do not work.
I saw like a Black Mirror episode about something like that.
Really?
Yeah, so it must be true.
Yeah, it's probably about him. But yeah, there's people out there with this potent energy or this energy that just doesn't mix with technology, and that's him. He's
what a nightmare. In the Black Mirror episode, it might have been one of the other like knockoff ones. The dude just kept getting fired from every job because they were just they just break all the time, and so you can't do any job.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't. Oh, my energy's too powerful. I melt the internet.
Well, I do have some resistance around that. I'm pretty open spiritually.
Around what?
Around concepts like that. I just wonder, is that true? Does that really happen?
Heck yeah, man. This guy's the real deal.
I know. I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it. I believe in Chip and I am open to it, but I wonder, I would like to, some things I just want to see.
Yeah.
Experience.
Maybe I wonder if it's just a create your own reality thing to where like maybe they don't break. Maybe he just gets so frustrated because he's created that in his mind. He's like, it doesn't work. You're like, you're not logged in.
That's funny. That's very possible. I don't think it's true for this guy, but I get what you guys.
If you're watching this now, congratulations. You're not that in tune.
Yeah, you have like almost no energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but thank you guys for everybody that's told us they are enjoying the show, and everybody who is telling their friends. I think we're on iTunes now.
Yeah, we're on something.
We're on something, man.
Yeah.
You can listen to this podcast. So whatever you're listening on, give it a like, give it a thumbs up, whatever they do on that system. Leave a comment and rate us and subscribe and all that good stuff. And subscribe to the YouTube channel too. You'll get a little reminder that a new episode is up. They've been coming out every Monday.
Yeah.
And we love doing this, so thank you guys.
Yeah, when it is posted, we'll put something in the description or something whenever we know exactly where it's at. The reason we don't know is because we're at the moment literally like getting that system done. So it will be somewhere that you can find it, and now you don't have to look at our faces if you don't want to.
Yeah, you can just listen in your ear holes.
Yeah.
So last week we started a new tradition on the show called the Touch-In.
Yeah.
And again, we encourage you at this point in the show to pause the show and do a touch-in with yourself. And that's basically just looking inward and thinking about and feeling into whatever's coming up for you in this moment in your day. And it's just a way of keeping tabs on yourself, slowing down your mind a little bit and quieting your mind and just feeling into your heart space and getting in touch with those emotions. Yes,
Can I
Jeffrey.
ask a
You have a
question
You
to
may.
clarify the touch in? Because I had a genuine question too. You'll find that I don't ask you a lot of questions off the podcast because then I'll think I'll ask it on the podcast.
Good.
So,
This is good.
one of the questions I have is what is the purpose of the touch in? Am I supposed to be, because I find myself during the day going like show myself gratitude and making myself like make sure that I'm thinking in a positive way. Are you
Mhm.
supposed to be allowing yourself or trying to pull things that are bothering you? Are you trying to like find an emotion? What's the purpose of a touch in and what's the goal?
You want
I think I'm
to?
maybe
Yeah,
assuming
please.
since you have not actually said that out loud, but I think the point is so that you're not spiritually bypassing or being overly positive, right? I think I
Mm.
mentioned this on the last episode that I have a tendency to just say, I'm good, I'm great. And then, yes, like yourself, Jeffrey J, try to be positive. But what Bo does when he does his touch ins is he actually feels his body. He
I
puts his
do.
hand on his chest, just in his
Hmm.
heart space, and and he closes down his eyes and he really feels in and asks himself, how am I doing, and it could be a combination of things. It could be, I feel good, maybe that's your first thought, and then keep breathing, think a little deeper, feel a little deeper, and you know what, I feel good, but I'm also feeling some stress, some anxiety, some anger, some whatever it is. You can feel many things, at
Yeah.
one time.
And yeah, that was very well said. And yeah, it's about listening to whatever is coming up. What is coming up for you? What is asking to be heard right now? You know, and we are going to talk about more extensively today this idea of spiritual bypassing, because it's very prevalent with everything that's going on with the old Coco V, I like to call it. Um, and but yeah, it's just being authentic, and you can literally, when you close down your eyes, I do encourage you to put your hand on your heart, kind of right in the center of your chest, and yes, take a deep breath, just sort of in through the nose, fully in, hold it just for a moment, and then let it out. And that's just sort of a cleansing technique, a clearing technique to quiet yourself for a moment. Um, and then you can literally, like, inside your own mind or out loud, whatever you're into, say, what's coming up right now? And then just listen, because things will come up. You might not necessarily like hear a voice, but it's just, you might just feel a pang somewhere. You might get a thought that comes up that feels important or authentic, like,
Mm.
just of how you're feeling. And so let's walk you through it right now, Jeff.
Uh,
So do me a favor, yeah, keep that hand on your
something
heart space.
unexpected came up.
Oh, wow.
Really, what is it?
Yeah, I don't know. I have been feeling, this is crazy. Um, I've been feeling so high and in tune with my visualization that when I get into that path, it's amazing the things that I can create. And not to sound, you know, I don't know, a fear of sounding cocky or anything, but if I visualize something, if I get, there's this little level that I get to in my brain, and if I hit that one, that thing's gonna happen. And
Mm.
it's only happened a couple times in my life, and one time was just I drew a picture of myself and I was so in tune right there that it only made sense for it to happen. And
Mm.
everything in this picture, I drew something in my hand. It was when I was at culinary school and I wanted to be the leader of something and I wanted to be on the council even though I was too young for it or something. And everything I drew in this picture happened.
Hmm.
So cool.
So I've been so in tune with it, and what just came up right now is this fear that I have a little bit because I am also so in love with my partner right now,
Mm.
and however, she does not believe in this stuff that I believe in,
Mm.
and I have a slight fear that I will let it affect me because every time I've done this and visualized something for myself, it's been just me. I've been
Mm.
single and it was only my energy, and I'm afraid that they're going to butt heads a little bit. This love for my partner and respect for her, but even just knowing that she doesn't believe is a bit scary. And I've been doing well at balancing out the things that she believes with the things I believe. And she has too. She's been phenomenal about it. She will just smile and let me talk. And
How do you feel when she does that? Do you feel like, is there some part of you that's like, she feels like this is bullshit?
oh,
I
I know it.
or do you feel like, thanks for not crapping on what
I
I'm
say all of those things out loud. I say
saying?
all those things out loud too because right now we're very communicative and I'll say, "Hey, thank you. I know you don't believe in this frou-frou bullshit, which is what I call it, frou-frou bullshit."
Mhm.
And I'll go, so I appreciate you allowing me to talk about these things. Like, 'cause sometimes I'll walk around the house just sounding like a crazy person. I'll be like, can you believe that we are blank right now? And it's not a thing that's real in this moment, but in my head, I'm making this a real thing. Can you believe that in the midst of quarantine, that we are financially secure and I have money coming in every month? Can you believe this? And etc. And she'll like let me live in my fantasy world that's creating my reality. I'll say thank you, and she'll go, "Look, I don't. It's okay that I don't believe it because you really believe it." And I was like, and even I don't even force her to like want to believe it, except some of the things she will, and then I'll stop. But she already believes she's like, yeah, you're always supposed to be in the car with me because you always get a parking spot. I
Mm.
always get a good parking spot. It's just something I've created for myself.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And she loves that, so one step at a time, I'll get her to believe.
Cool.
That's really beautiful, Jeffrey J. And for me, what I hear, because I really believe in relationships, um, souls traveling together, soul ties, we are attracted to each other for a reason, for a purpose. It sounds to me like both of you in this experience here and now are up leveling because you are able to hold space for each other, and you're, as you're explaining, different. You both are different. Bo and I have our differences, but we're sort of the same in spirituality. Like, these are like big, kind of huge umbrella topics
Right.
that affect your whole entire life.
Yeah.
And then you guys, are trying to navigate this and hold space for each other. That's not easy. That's not easy. And that takes a
Nope.
lot of willingness, a lot of compassion, and a lot of love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, that's quite beautiful.
Yeah. And what I wanted to say too is, yeah, when you're saying, oh, this fear is coming up, as we know, like the fear, that's future thinking, right? You even
Mm-hmm.
said it,
Right.
like, I'm afraid that this person that I love so much, and it's not gonna jive. This love is not gonna jive. This relationship is not gonna jive with this this magic that I'm creating, and and but if what can you do? All you can do is just be here right now and live in it right now. And what came up too for me is this idea that, oh, she's going to see, You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like, and you said like, oh, with the parking spot sort of thing, which is like a small thing.
Yeah.
But these are the things that she's going to see over time through her, through proximity, but also because she loves you.
Yeah.
And there is a part of her that's remaining open,
Yeah,
you
she
know?
reaps the benefits. She's lucky.
Totally. She's getting that sweet handicap parking spot.
That's how I always get a spot. I
Right.
park
You just have
right.
a handicap,
There's this
Forbes handicap
handicap,
placard.
like, I don't even get it. I just believe I'm supposed to be there.
You just
And
believe you're handicapped.
yes, I've created that reality that I'm
Right.
handicapped. And so then I just park there, and there's always one free.
Jeffrey Day always walks around with these mega headphones on.
God, I
People
almost
just
did it.
say, people just leave him
Almost did it.
alone.
Yeah.
Leave him alone. Let him be.
Yeah. Oh, poor thing.
Oh
Good
my
for
god.
him. Should he be driving?
I love
Yeah.
you. Thank
Uh,
you for letting me touch in, and thank you for guiding me through that. That was more meaningful than it would have been had I not been able to ask the question.
Good. That's great. Yeah, and that's awesome. That's what we need to do too, is just ask more questions, I think, in life. Like I know that I've done that for a long time where I'm just like, I don't know what that means. I'm gonna keep going.
Yeah.
I'm embarrassed to ask. And it's so silly. It's so silly. Like just get the information, you know. And one thing that I wanted to say too, for our viewers slash listeners, and for you, Jeff, is Jeffrey J is one of the most powerful manifestors I've ever seen in my life. Like I've told you that for years. Like that guy, he puts his mind to something, like it's not like that, I'm gonna will it to be so.
Yeah.
Just when you are, especially when you are clear,
Oh yeah.
like you're you're so powerful, man, and you draw things to you. And you, I was, it was very interesting for me to hear you say that it's happened a couple times. I've seen it happen more than a couple times. Like
Mm.
just I can't think of examples, but it's always like it was always comedy related. It was always like, I want to do this. I want this to happen. And then it just happens.
I
And like
know.
it's amazing. And you are so good. Something that I envy and want to be better at in my life is envisioning things, and like literally like David Elliott, who Cassidy studied with to learn breath work in New Mexico. And I'm listening to his book right now, The Reluctant Healer, on Audible, and it's fantastic. And he's wonderful, brilliant healer, and he's talking a lot about collages, like
Hmm.
making collages.
Yes. Vision
Um,
boards.
yeah, and he's like huge proponent of that, and that's so interesting because everything I've heard in this book, like literally, like as soon as I turned it on, very strange experience. I've never had anything like this where I got emotional immediately because it was just this powerful, not even what he was saying, but just like this understanding of like, oh my God, I'm about to learn so much. This is my teacher. I'm also going to go study with him as
Mm.
soon as, the cocoa bee
Yeah.
up a little bit. And, but yeah, so emotional. And then I got to this part about like manifesting in collages, and it's a serious growth edge for me where I'm like, ooh, I don't know about that. Cause yeah, it's interesting because I think for me, it's tough for me to be sort of definite about things or be so specific about things. I guess I like to leave things more open,
Hmm.
Which you
but
can. You very much so can.
yeah.
And that's a thing too where like sometimes I've got a a gratitude folder that has cash in it, by the way, in my top drawer if you want to rob me.
100 buckaroos? Is it that buckaroo?
It is more than 100 buckaroos.
Oh.
I won't make it more beneficial to come rob me. But I used to have a rainy instead of saying savings or a rainy day fund, which is expecting that, I turned it into a gratitude folder, And
Mm.
for all intents and purposes, it's a rainy day fund. It's backup rent. It's whatever this was. But to me, it's a gratitude folder that is my open-ended way of attracting money. And that folder is always attracting money. And money comes from all sorts of places. And if I said, like, I'm going to make $100,000 with this YouTube channel, well, maybe that's not giving the universe an out. I don't know where that money's gonna come from.
Right.
But that's a way to open your mind. Take something like you want, like if it has to do with speaking or this. You don't have to. The Hippy Dippy Show may not be the thing that gets you what it is you wanted. So you don't have to put it on the
What?
Hippy Dippy Show.
Yeah.
Maybe you get, a talking head with Dr. Oz, or whatever. But you put that you are putting spiritual energy out into the world
Right.
and have that on your collage. And
Right.
that's open ended.
Cool. What did you want to? I
Well,
love that,
I
Jeff.
sort
Thank
of
you.
two things. I'll go with the first one. Jeffrey J, you said when you were describing your conversations with Emma, you said you call this type of language frou-frou bullshit.
Yeah.
But it's obviously something that you do believe in, and it's something that it's proven to you time and time and shown, that is true
Yeah.
in your experience,
Yes.
in other people's experience, because you're experiencing it and you're aware of it, you see it for other people too.
Yeah.
So do you really mean that? Do you really, like, when you call it for bullshit, are you just saying that to dumb it down in front of Emma, to make it like more accessible and not so intimidating to her? Um, and then I guess I'm just inviting you to not.
Yeah, I know because I also think that words have power. So I wonder if that is giving it too much negative power, but I also don't ever say the word bullshit
Mm,
really. So I think maybe that's why it's okay to
Fuck a
me
doo doo.
because I yeah. But so maybe because but I am definitely saying that to give someone an out to not attack me by, instead of saying I firmly believe in this, etc. I go, "Oh, it's for bullshit," so that we don't have to get into a real conversation with it. And maybe that's writing it off, but it also keeps me from having to justify something that I believe, which I don't want to.
Mm.
yeah.
I don't want
Yeah.
to. It works for me, and I don't care if you don't believe it at all because that's so powerful for me. And there's plenty of room for you in the universe to do exactly what I'm doing. But if you don't want to, it's not my job to make you want to.
I love
That's
it.
the truth.
I get
I
that.
really
Totally.
appreciate that. And I think that's like what's most important of all is that it doesn't matter what anybody says. You
Right.
guys, you listeners, and
Yeah.
us here,
Yeah.
it does not matter. What matters is you and what you feel, and not to be, arrogant or condescending in any way, but just at the end of the day, you can tap into whatever belief system that you have, and you don't need to explain yourself, you don't need to defend yourself, and you don't need to persuade other people to believe what you believe. You can just be.
No, and when it is time to share it, then they're ready and you're ready because you can't force anything on anyone anyways. Especially not something like manifesting your own. You have to come to that on your own, and I hope that you're open to it. And if you're not, that's also okay. Just do what makes you happy. And living in imagination land makes me so happy. I don't care if it looks like I'm having a psychotic break.
No,
Good.
I think it's beautiful, man. And yeah, and I wanted to ask you when you were saying it initially. Great, like let's hear what makes you so powerful. Like what gives you this ability to manifest
Hmm.
and I think that part of it is kind of what we talked about in last week's episode. You do the work, you engage with your imagination so fluidly, so easily,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Is it,
live it, for God's sakes.
yeah.
And it's beautiful, and it is with your positivity and your gratitude, and you walk around with so much joy, and I think that that's a lot of where it comes from, is and you do these things like my gratitude folder and
Yeah.
pretend you're Scrooge McDuck and
Yeah.
like you're swimming around in money.
I will tell you that sometimes I imagine, and this will be the last thing I say on my visualization, is that sometimes I'll imagine being frustrated in the situation, and I'll be driving because driving is a thing that's a really powerful thing because you do it so often that you can always visualize yourself. I read this somewhere, by the way. I'm not making it up. I had no idea where I read it though. So, good luck. When you're driving, and I'm doing driving, why? I'm doing, like you guys don't know. When you're driving like this,
you know,
you can always visualize yourself driving, so sometimes I'll visualize frustration in it. So I'll be going, I'll go, God, oh, I can't believe this is the seventh day in the row that I'm heading to the studio. Like I just want to sleep, but I just can't believe that this is happening and how cool that, my show got picked up or whatever it is that I'm visualizing at the time. I'll
do
yeah, yeah.
you
What?
do you pretend like you're holding a steering wheel when
No,
you're like,
this is what I'll do when I'm driving.
oh, okay, you
When
just do
I'm
it.
driving, I will imagine
Yeah.
that I'm already in whatever it is that I'm doing. So like when I wanted to get into Groundlings,
Hmm.
before I got in and I was just doing my audition, I visualized myself as I was driving, when I was heading back home going, I can't believe that I got in Groundlings. That is so cool that I got in Groundlings. God, man, that's $500, but it's fine. Like it's gonna be worth it. And I visualized some of the frustrations to just make it real.
Jeffrey
Cool.
J, I totally know what you're saying. Remember when I first moved to Glendale and I was still in nursing school, and
Yes.
every single day I just started doing it out of habit, and you started doing it out of habit. We'd drive past a hospital, and I would say, "Oh, there's my work. Hi, work.
Yeah.
Hey, there's my work. My work is so close to home. Oh my gosh, I'd be at work already right now. This is so crazy." And I literally did it all the time. And then the day that I was ready to apply, I walked into HR. I said, I want to work here. What do I need to do to be here? And the next day I got a job offer. So
Yeah.
that
And
was my
and I remember too whenever you got into all your stuff, it was amazing because I remember saying something like, "Yeah, I feel like all the nurses you have to work all these night shifts and everything," and she's like, "No, but you don't. You're so like, yeah, but you don't have to." And I was like, "You're right. You don't have to. You do whatever you want. You do exactly what you envision." And
Yeah.
I remembered that moment so vividly. And you did do whatever you want. You like skipped all these steps. And maybe I'm speaking out of turn and maybe you didn't. But in my head I was like, you just got a great job because you just made it real. It was real.
Yeah, a lot of her friends,
yeah.
like they had to go and do this first and then work at this place that wasn't very desirable first. And then, but, and everybody kind of looked at you, Cass, as like, oh, wow, you just did it? You're just there already?
Yeah.
That was an interesting thing. Yeah. And I even surprised myself. Um, but so to continue our
Yeah,
touch and
touch in.
Um, okay, so I said there were two things I wanted to say. The second thing I'm going to save for another conversation because I like where we're going here. This is like manifesting the law of attraction,
Hmm.
and we can kind of dive into this deeper in regards to money and magnetic mindsets and
Mm.
blah blah blah. So I got some ideas for you guys. Stay tuned for the next episode. It's not over yet, so here we go. So now I'm touching it. Um, okay, let me do my hand on my
Mm.
chest, in my heart space. I am touching into openness and excitement. And in that openness and excitement, I'm also touching into emotion. And I suppose what I mean even more specifically, because that's what we're supposed to do, right? Is get very, very specific. That emotion I don't feel right now, but I know that I'm creating this open space for this portal of maybe some grief, some shedding to come out. And why I feel that is, well, last night we got in a pretty big argument over here in the Bowker household.
Oh, I thought you were talking about you and Jeff.
And after this recording, we have our session with our spiritual counselor, Reverend Kathy
Silva.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she doesn't even sponsor us.
No, not yet.
Cough it up, Kathy.
What's going on the collage?
Yeah.
Her forking over checks.
Hey, can you take a picture of this? It's just for something. It's for nothing. Just her with a sack of money handing it to you.
Okay. Got manifested.
Yeah.
Go
All
ahead.
right.
So, you know, we have been seeing her for God knows how long now, maybe a little over 2 years or 2 years, something like that. So what we have learned so far, and sometimes it makes things easier and sometimes it doesn't. And I think that you and I are both experiencing a little bit of both of these feelings, is that when you experience an argument, when you experience some type of heaviness within your life, within your relationship, whatever is going on, you could talk about this right now with Coco V. There is opportunity. So there has to be some type of discomfort revealed to you in order for you to grow, right? Because when we're just happy and peaceful and floating, and what is the incentive? Where's the incentive to grow beyond that? So last night in our argument, you know, it got pretty heated, I guess you could say. I mean, it was not just a bickering. It was a emotional conflict. And so I can say that and laugh because this morning I woke up and yeah, you know, there's still a little tension. But even before we started recording, we took a moment together and we were talking, and we know that we love each other. And I was trying to speak on behalf of myself in that I feel excited because I know that, number one, we're never upset about the reason that we think. So whatever triggered us in that moment could have been something that had been ongoing and some type of pressure cooker mentality where we eventually just, boom, exploded. Or maybe it's rooted to something that happened in our past, right? And so this event had to.
It always is. It's always rooted in something from the past,
this
right?
event happened for our higher good and purpose. So you can choose to still be in those heavy feelings when you wake up in the morning the next day, or you can, you know, take those feelings in a safe way, set them aside. Okay, know that in this time frame, I'm going to really deeply look at those things, address them, feel them, talk about them, work with them, and then identify what is the reason for this? Where is the growth happening here? So I'm really excited because I know that there will be some type of deeper healing for me, for you, for our relationship. And only good can come out of it when you have two people that are willing to explore that.
Yeah, that's so lovely.
It doesn't mean it's going to be easy. You know, there'll probably be a lot of tears. There might even be more arguing. But then once we finally dig through all that bullshit, we'll get somewhere.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, true.
That's beautiful. And you also too, like, sometimes I forget how lucky we are to be in these relationships, because even in the areas that Emma's closed off, she's still very open-minded to, like, hey, let's talk, let's check in, and not everybody is blessed with that. So, like, there is something beautiful. And when y'all do get to that, that means there is something that you've been trudging through a lot of little things that finally had to build up to there, and you were doing great for a long time until that. And it's super unhealthy if you don't have your blow-ups, because that just means you're not dealing with shit.
Right.
Totally. One of my good friends, her name is Angelita. She is a yoga instructor and woman extraordinaire. I believe she's such a spiritual, beautiful person. I really look up to her. She reminded me. Why is that so funny?
I'm going to put that on my business cards.
Hey.
Will Bowker, man extraordinaire. What's he do? Oh, he's just a man, really big time. in the most in the most ways.
If there's anything I'd say about her, it's woman.
Yeah, I
That is
love
so
that.
funny.
She's a
Anyways,
lovely woman. Yes.
she's quite lovely. She reminded me. She said, when she in her marriage, the father of her children, she the reverend or whoever was officiating her wedding said one thing to her that she'll always remember, and that was that the biggest pressure that we put on ourselves is to be in love, like to
Mm.
Mm.
really feel in love all the time. And to be quite honest, every day you wake up and you make a choice. Every day you wake up and you make a choice. Like,
Yeah.
the God honest truth, choose. But it is.
Yeah.
I choose peace today, rather than anger and resentment and hurt from last night. That does not mean that I'm avoiding those feelings. It
Mhm.
means that I will process those feelings, but right now I am choosing peace. I am choosing love. I am choosing forgiveness, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Totally. Well, yeah.
Absolutely.
Back to a phrase that you use a lot and that I really like and have taken on to is like, um, we're constantly in choice. Um, and that's the truth. Like, you just constantly have a choice. You like, not about what you're facing necessarily in front of you physically, or in the world, right? As we're all dealing with now, but you are constantly in choice of how you move through it. You're constantly in choice. Like, and I think part of what you're saying is like, loving someone is a choice. And I've heard that before too when it comes to marriage. It's like every day you're making a choice to love that person. And yeah, is that right?
Yeah, and that is like from a psyche standpoint, right?
Right.
Because we are human and we have this brain, and the brain is what helps us function. But there's also a deeper layer. If you
Mhm.
believe in the things that we believe in, right? So that we have our psyche, but we also have our spirit and our soul. My spirit, my soul loves you infinitely and
Right.
is absolutely in love with you. And this is
Sure.
why we're soulmates or twin flames or whatever you want to
Yeah.
call it. That is a we're bound together. I
Yeah.
Right.
truly believe. So that could be kind of hurtful if you think, oh, my partner is like, what, choosing to love me? What is that supposed to mean? I'm in love with my partner. And
Right.
that's where the brain starts to think, right? So allow yourself to be multifaceted. Allow there to be different understandings of one whole. And then in this practice is you can extend that to other things and other people, like
Mm.
yourself, Jane, holding space for Emma, and Emma holding space with you. It all starts internally, and like identifying that you have different dimensions of your being.
Mm. That's awesome.
And the other thing is too, like, I mean, I had this vision like as a kid, and you romanticize love, ironically. And it's and marriage, I guess, where for me it was this idea of, and I grew up with parents that had a pretty dysfunctional relationship.
Mm.
um, and so I had this vision of like, well, when you're with the right person, it just clicks and you just
Mm.
have a beautiful, happy marriage and life. And it's like, no, I know that I'm with my perfect partner, my soulmate, um, and my best friend, and the person that I file my taxes with. And but it's so much work. Like,
Yeah.
I thought like you just find the perfect person,
Yeah.
and then it's like boom, click that into place, and you're good to go. Like IKEA
Yeah.
furniture.
Add a dash of babies and see how that goes.
Right.
That's a
And it's
shit
just
ton more work.
constant work. And that's something that I am very proud of, that I'm very grateful for in my partner, and in myself. And that's where our love is really exhibited, is that we are willing to do this work, because
Yeah.
so many people are in love and love each other so much, but they get divorced. You know why? Because it's freaking hard. Like
Yeah.
it's so much work, and they're just not willing to do the work. And I get it, but it's I mean, yeah, I don't know. Look, some relationships are just toxic, and you don't need to be married. But I also think that some people just give up because they're not willing to go there. They're not willing to put in that time and energy and work because
Mhm.
it's a lot.
Yeah.
But it's so worth it,
Yeah.
and it's I couldn't forgive myself if I ever put that down. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll say one more thing, Jeffrey J. I think this will resonate with you and your relationship too. When I was in Guatemala with my mentor Keith Wilson of Keith's Cacao, the
Yeah.
chocolate almond, he said one thing that really spoke to me and was quite emotional for many of us. But he was sitting there with his wife Barbara, and he said, when you love yourself enough, when you decide that you are worthy and realize that you are worthy, then you will get yourself a partner like this.
Mm.
And I immediately, of course, thought of my beau. I thought of my beau. When
Mm.
I love myself enough, when I decide that the suffering is done, I'm done with that bullshit. That's when I think things would be totally easy. But right now, I still have some wounds I need to heal. And so, yeah, I think that's why we get tripped up in our egos and why we end up arguing. But, please
Mhm.
know that I love myself deeply and I love myself deeply. And that's why I'm with you because
Oh,
you're an inspiration and mentor.
that's amazing.
Awesome.
Can I? That's so beautiful, and I think that's important too. I I told Emma yesterday, which is another thing where it's like, thanks for letting me live in my crazy world, baby. I was like, do you know how I created you? Those are words that came out of my mouth.
Hmm.
Do you know how I created you? That's the words of a crazy person.
Beautiful. I love that.
And I said, you know how I created you? And she's like, no, how did you create me? I think you've told me this before. And she just, see, that's love. When someone who doesn't believe in this stuff will just go, how'd you create me, baby?
Right. Yeah.
Just, and it's like, when I was ready with and done with my ex, done processing my ex, I'm
Yeah.
sure not totally done, and definitely not done, because I still had drinking to do, so I was processing all sorts of shit wrong.
Right.
But when I
But it
was
slowed
ready,
down your process.
yes.
Drinking slowed down your process.
Oh my God, it completely reverses it. It's
Mhm.
not possible for me to use my power while drinking.
Yeah.
It's not possible for me. Other people, it absolutely can be. Me, it takes and it smashes it into the dirt. It's gone.
Mm. Yeah.
Um, with Emma, I had read like you're supposed to change your life and ready yourself for it. So my bed was against the wall, and I was sleeping in the middle of the bed, and I was like, I'm ready now. Moved my bed out so that it
Wow.
had two sides and picked a side to sleep on, so that
Wow. That's
I
Wow.
could create
awesome.
space for my partner. And I met Emma 2 weeks later.
Wow, Jeffrey J. That's beautiful.
So
Holy
if you're
crap.
looking for a partner, figure out how to prepare yourself and make space for that partner in your life.
Right.
And if you're getting rid of one, throw his shit out. Imagine you're single.
Clear
Burn it
that.
all in the back.
That's funny. I did a similar thing. I bought a body pillow and cut a hole. What? What?
There is nothing real than imagining intimacy. Like, I mean, like, you just imagine that intimacy, and that
Right.
pillow was Cassidy. And I saw that pillow. The face you drew on eerily looked like her. I mean, it was just a circle
Close.
with two buttons, but it looked exactly like Cass.
Very close.
I canceled my membership at the adult store.
Yeah.
All my Magnum XL.
You threw them away.
Yeah, she took all of her.
These for Mr. Right.
Yeah, yeah. Look at this. I'm imagining something much smaller. And then Bo came into your life. uh,
I don't like when you one up my comment. That is a new experience.
Hey, save it for therapy, buddy.
Yeah. No, I'm just.
Hey, Bo, have we touched in on you? Have we touched you yet?
Let's touch you.
So what I've been, and I don't want to do it this way, like because I get thoughts in my head like, oh, I'm touching in here, but
Yeah.
so I'll go through the process.
Yeah.
I think I'm touching into a lot of gratitude, um, just for this experience and this exchange, and being able to listen to Jeffrey J, being able to participate in this with my partner, and very grateful for her openness and communication, and her positivity. One thing that I wanted to say about what Cassidy was talking about when she's describing, the process of, our argument, and then waking up this morning and her making a conscious choice to be be okay, and to choose peace and choose love. I was not ready to make that choice this morning.
Mm.
I was like, no, angry, like I'm angry and I'm hurt and whatever, and and so I am grateful for your experience of that. And the other thing that's been coming up all morning, or not all morning, or it would have been a better morning, but for the last like hour or so, is sovereignty. My sovereignty, and just being separate from other people's emotions and expectations and judgments. And for me, it's a realization that I'm responsible for how I feel, similar to what we're, touching on, not in, but on,
Yeah.
when we talk about being in choice. I part of what I experienced last night was I was doing a really great job. I felt of like holding space and just being sort of like, all right, let's go. And then eventually I just fucking lost it. And I was so mad. And it really got me. And so all my high-mindedness and all of that just went out the window. And I was just switched to a low vibration that doesn't suit me or my partner. I
Mm.
already apologize. But yes, and what that often creates for me too is disappointment in myself, because I have been on the super high vibration. And similarly to what you said, to kick it off, like I've been feeling so high lately, like just
Mm.
like buzzing and on a different wavelength than I've ever been on, and feeling
Mm.
so good, so attuned.
Yeah.
And even last night, like during our argument, like at the end, I was like so mad. I was like, well, I'm so mad that like I let you get to me, and that's so unfair. Like
Yeah.
because it again, it has nothing to do with Cassidy. Like sure, like somebody might be bringing things to you that don't feel like joy and positivity, but um, it's not her or anybody else's responsibility like how I feel, and I am fully responsible. And similar to what you said too, like there's something within me that needed this, you know, needed this to come out so that I could clear and clean deeper,
Mm.
because I might think like, oh, I'm up here, I've been up here, like obviously I'm not quite where I want to be, or else I would have been a better container, and all of that. And so,
Mm.
but also within that, forgiving myself and not beating myself up about it. I often do that where I'm like, oh man, I was on such a great wavelength, and then this happened, and now it's all effed. It doesn't have to be that way. Everything is a choice, including your self worth. Um, it's all. I read this beautiful post. I forget the gentleman's name yesterday, but it's just this idea of like, when you get to feel like you're enough, or like you're worth loving, or you're worthy of whatever it is that you seek when you decide. Because
Mm,
every day it's a choice, every moment it's a choice. How do you want to be? Who do you want to be? How do you want to feel? And so that's part that the big reason why I was in kind of a funk this morning, or had that hangover from last night, is because I was upset with myself, and the way that I acted, and reacted, and I don't need to feel that way. I think very valid to be apologetic, and say I'm sorry,
mm,
and things like that. But I don't need to keep it going. I don't need to wallow or beat myself up. I choose to be kind to myself, and yeah, and again, coming back to sovereignty of like, I'm responsible and I'm also untouchable, and I'm grateful that I don't have to be as Cassidy chose to be this morning. I would like to.
yeah.
It's really a great choice. But also, I needed to process
Yeah.
all this, yes, so that I could get it out and filter it out and
Yeah.
get to the point where I am now. So
Yeah.
I'm really feeling my sovereignty and feeling grateful. So,
That is the best thing ever, because I will say that it's hard to do it in the moment, and honestly you probably shouldn't do it in the moment. But once
mm,
I get through that stuff, one way I help revamp and reinvigorate my journey to like resonating on that higher frequency is I always thank the universe for the frustration I felt, because I had the opportunity to feel that because of these gifts. I have an. Why am I frustrated about this? Because I have an apartment that you've gifted me. Because
mm,
I do love my wife enough to give a shit. Because I have two beautiful children that have all their fingers and toes so far. That
Yeah.
like that's one thing that I will do once I finally. You have to be past the frustration part in order to do that well. But once you do and you're back on the right track again, thanks for the frustration, because whoa, look at everything that had to happen in order to be frustrated about that and not do I have food.
Yes.
right, right.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a luxury. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think this is all absolutely perfect to segue into our theme here of spiritual bypassing.
Yeah.
So,
What does that mean?
What is that? Because I genuinely don't know at all.
well, I have a little quote here. Okay. So this is actually, I just Googled spiritual bypassing.
Love it. Bringing you the real hard hitting news that you couldn't have got yourself.
Yeah, let it be easy. Let it be
Yeah.
convenient. A spiritual bypass or spiritual bypassing is a tendency to use spiritual ideas and practices to sidestep or avoid facing unresolved emotional issues, psychological wounds, and unfinished developmental tasks. The term was introduced in the early 1980s by John Wellwood, a Buddhist teacher and
Hmm.
psychotherapist. So,
So, can I ask a quick question before you explain it? Because why, first thing that comes to me just with that, when I were to read that, sounds to me like someone saying, like, something terrible happened to me, and I go, it's God's will. Is that spiritual bypassing, or am I completely misreading it?
yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Or saying like, oh, like everything's gonna be great, like
Yeah.
because blah blah blah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, like I have faith that all is gonna be fine.
Yeah. So how this was actually inspired was a couple of weeks ago. Now we had a gathering. Okay, so we're on social distancing, quarantine, isolation right now. So we had a quote unquote gathering with our family members over
Oh,
Zoom.
yeah.
And so in this gathering with our family members over Zoom, at one point, there was the question asked of how's everybody doing during this time? And so that just immediately, boom, added fuel to the fire. Is that what it is? Fuel to the fire? And,
Why? Was it because you guys,
probably.
because were you guys like, oh, everything's gonna be fine and great, and everything, and other people were like, life is shit. Is that?
Well, yeah. So that created an opening for emotion to come out, and there was this outpouring of fear, from one side of the family and the other side of the family, including ourselves. I know, I remember, and I hold myself accountable for this, and I don't agree with what I said now. However, I stepped in and I said, no, no one needs to be worrying, no one needs to be concerned. And why did I say that? Out of love, because I know as a nurse, that worry and concern, breeds stress hormones, and this stress hormone and cortisol negatively affects our body
Your
and then
immune
compromises
system.
our immune system, right? So that was my point. My point is, if you really narrow it down, my point is because I love you, I want you to be healthy. Don't worry. But they're feeling worry. So who am I to tell somebody to stop feeling what they're feeling?
Mm.
So I went on to say, like, I don't even know if I went on to say it. You might have gone on
You left at one point. She straight up ran out.
Sometimes you got to do that.
Yeah, no, and she made a better choice than I did because I sat engaged, and I ended up doing exactly what you described earlier, that you try to avoid, and I would have been better served to have done this as well, which is I should have walked away because I ended up like defending my positivity and defending my mentality and defending my faith, and
Oof.
and just in that, I like the next day I was like telling somebody, yeah, like, and I was like just defending my positivity and mentality and faith and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, how stupid.
Yeah.
If I am so faithful and
Yeah.
confident, I don't need to
Keep that
defend.
in. Keep it in. Hold on to
Yeah.
that. That's
Right. Yeah.
yours.
It's
That's the
mine.
one thing you get to be selfish about.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's mine. And it's not for anybody else. I think that ultimately I hope that it serves other people through my actions, and things like that. But yeah, I shouldn't have to do that. Um, but so basically what it comes down to is ultimately it's bypassing, because how can I say, hey, it's going to be fine when there's thousands of people that have died already from coronavirus, right? Like, and so, but I've said that. I've said it's going to be fine. And now where that's coming from for me, it's obviously well intended, but it is dismissive. It is bypassing people's fears
Mhm.
that are legitimate. And as Cassidy said, who am I to tell somebody it's going to be fine? Who am I to
Yeah.
tell somebody it's okay? Because what if the next week, I can't say, I know it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
What I can say is I have faith that this is all for a greater purpose.
Yes.
And even that is not soothing to anybody, because again, what if they or a loved one gets coronavirus and dies in 2 weeks? Like,
Yeah.
it's not okay for them, and they're not going to accept this is for a greater purpose, Grandpa.
Yeah.
Like, that's not easy to swallow. So
Yeah.
it's this idea of letting people be where they are, not trying to, what another term, I don't know if I made this up, but I just thought of it as you were giving the definition, is God-splaining, where
Mm.
it's like, where it's this idea of like, yeah, just like using spirituality to be like, it's okay,
Mm.
because I have this. Look, I've had a lot of death in my family, so I've been through a lot of it, and I've got a different relationship, I think, than most people do, with death. Um, I I know that those people went, um, and transitioned out of this plane to another one, and it was purposeful.
Mm.
It ultimately served everyone, even though it's something that I still grieve.
Mm.
Um, I I look at this global thing that's happening as a cleansing. I think that death is a natural part of life. It is. It's
Yeah.
it's a guarantee,
Mhm.
and we're all going to go one way or the other. That doesn't mean at all that it's not sad. It doesn't mean that it's not terrifying.
Mhm.
Um, it doesn't mean that we should all just be okay. It doesn't mean that we should all be hugging and kissing in public right
Yeah.
now. um, my point being that yes, I'm still fully taking all the precautions because we
Yeah,
still
yeah, yeah.
have a responsibility to do what we can to limit
Yeah.
it.
You're not
Uh,
going to your weekly cuddle parties.
I'm not. I'm not. I'm on hiatus, and it's not easy as the treasurer.
Yeah.
Okay, especially during these economic times.
I gotta count the
So,
kisses this week.
so I can know all that. I can believe all that, and that's mine. And I number one, what I found too in this family Zoom conversation that we had, I came in with an agenda which was to soothe people's fears. And that
Mm.
was that was wrong. Like I was wrong for that. Again, as well intended as it was, it's not it's not my place. My position should be to go into everything with full presence and an open heart.
Mm.
And I didn't do that. If I had had a completely open heart, it would have looked like me hearing them express these wild fears,
Mhm.
and when I say wild, because they were so vibrant and alive within them, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like
Activated,
they were,
passionate.
yeah, they
Yeah.
were,
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And so I wish that I would have just heard them and been there and been a container, as we talked about in the first episode.
Yeah.
You know?
We're so used to being able to cheer people up. I'm
Yeah,
it's
we
like
want to fix.
yeah, or make someone laugh or whatever, but this one is so big and so scary to everyone, and
Yeah,
everyone is in their own world. I mean, the worst thing you can do is make the scariest thing in the world and then tell everyone to sit alone and stew with it. Like,
yeah,
that's what we've
right.
done here. We've
That's
said,
it.
hey, here's a list of all the conspiracy theories.
Oh, yeah.
Now sit in your room alone and figure out which one you believe.
Right.
And or I mean, along with a very real pandemic. I'm not calling it a
Sure.
conspiracy. I'm just saying there's lots of them out there. 5G is apparently causing coronavirus, and I
A lot of beliefs.
love watching these people so much.
Right.
But the point is that we're so used to going in and just being like, "Hey, it's a tiny thing. Let's cheer you up." And right now, we have to be different. And it's so interesting that you say to listen because I've found that too. Is that the biggest lesson I've taken away is that people really need that from you right now. And if I
Mhm.
could say something to our podcast listeners, we know that everyone needs to get their shit out right now because no one's able to interact as much. If you
Right.
can be that active listener,
Mm.
it also creates that bond with another human stronger than ever because
Right.
you've really taken a moment to try to understand their experience. And does that make sense?
Mhm. Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And you don't have to, and that's a great point. And with it, when you're listening and being that container and holding space for this person, no matter where they're going with their beliefs, whether no matter where you stand, you could be the fearful one and let somebody wash over you with their positivity and their pie in the sky stuff or whatever. Or be the person who's like, it's gonna be fine. We're gonna be fine, and you're the one with and somebody's coming at you with all their fear. um, you don't have to engage, you don't have to take it on. Again, going back to that sovereignty and that choice, that's the exercise, that's the work, and that's not easy, but it's doable, and that I believe is a goal, something to aim for, of like, let that person be where they are right now, and you don't have to take it on, and you don't have to be like, yeah, I know it is scary, like, or yeah, I know probably 200,000 at least, like,
Yeah.
Like it's a lot, man. Like when people start coming at you with these numbers, you're like, what? Like, you know, because
Yeah.
look, I can say, look, that's not going to happen. And that's bullshit because I don't
Bullshit.
know.
Yeah.
And they can say, this is what's going to happen.
And that's
I
bullshit.
heard the experts.
Yeah.
That's also bullshit. We
Yeah.
don't know. And that's why I always say, come back to what is real. And the only thing that exists is this moment right now. The past is gone. The future hasn't happened. What's real right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, a teacher of mine, his name is Billy Gill. He teaches yoga and
Name drop.
You should look him up. I really recommend you looking him up, Billy Gill Yoga.
Right.
I don't know his Instagram, but
Yeah.
he posted a IGTV, and it was entitled "Comforting Lies."
Ooh.
Very
Yeah.
powerful. That's where a
Very,
lot of
very-
our conversation on this came from, was his
Really?
Instagram video.
Yeah, and
Comforting lies?
Comforting Lies.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So basically, somebody brought up this conversation about comforting lies, revolving around this pandemic or crisis, and then somebody connected comforting lies with religion, and he sort of sat with that thought for a second, and he said, I don't find religion to be full of comforting lies. And for there was a second within me that thought, but is there?
Yeah.
And then he said, if you take a look at Buddhism, it's full of suffering, and suffering is how we transcend and grow. It's a very important part of that process of enlightenment. And then Hinduism. In Hinduism, people suffer karmas. Through millions of lifetimes, over and over, repeating the same lessons and experiencing weight in whatever form until they get it. In Judaism, there's this responsibility to help shift the world and for the better, and heal. And so, you could look at many different religions. In Christianity, right, there's suffering and sinning, and you have to own up to those aspects of yourself, and view them and see them and not avoid them. So he's like, I don't really find a lot of comforting lies there. But basically his point is that everyone has their own opinions, right? And who is he to say, like we're saying right now, that everything's going to be okay, because there has been mass death and suffering, and this is very real. But what he can say, and what we all can resonate with, Jeffrey J, myself, and Bo, is that, like I was saying, our sovereignty. Everything okay here?
I'm plugging in the computer.
Sorry.
Technical stuff, folks.
What we are responsible for is our sovereignty, is our emotion and our experience of this. And you can believe or not believe in what I'm feeling right now.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I need help. I'm so sorry. Good.
I'm sorry. That was the most beautiful, lovely, thing too. And then just.
Oh, really? You can,
Yeah. But no, you can still hear it. It was fine. To our listeners, send us a message. Tell us how much you appreciate Bo, and that you forgive him. Open your hearts to forgiveness to Bo. This is life. This is life.
So basically the point is that we are responsible for our feelings of this whole entire situation. And that being said, if you ask me at the end of the day, I have faith. And I'm not bypassing what is happening. I'm fully aware. I'm fully educated. Just because I am faithful and have some type of positive, grounded outlook over this situation does not mean I'm naive. We can feel multiple emotions, and we have the capability and capacity to have the awareness of everything. Okay, and then choose whatever outlook that you want to choose, right?
And what you're gonna let in.
Yeah, so in my outlook, I choose to believe to take all the precautions that I can for everyone in this existence. That includes myself, my family, my partner, and then everyone I come into contact when I do go to the grocery store, et cetera, et cetera. Um, I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, this is first of all well said.
Yeah, no, I totally get it, and I agree, and so I think this is also where the checking in comes in, the touch in, right?
Mm.
Like, because what we're definitely not saying is, because what spiritual bypassing is kind of what you talked about at the beginning, Jeff, with when you were clarifying on touch in. Like, your tendency is to be like, oh, let me focus on the positive. All right, all right, that's there, but let me, or at least I won't speak for you, but that's a lot of people. That has been my mentality for a lot of my life. Was, I know that there's a better way to be, a better place to put my focus, so I don't have to feel this way. It's a choice, right? And it is a choice. However, it is so important to feel what you're feeling and to process what you're feeling. So go inward, see what comes up. Maybe it's fear right now in this moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so sit with that for a moment. And what I'm saying is, then let it pass.
Mm.
It might take you a week, right? Like, my point is, deal with it. Whatever it is, deal with it. And that's how you avoid spiritual bypassing, is by checking in.
Mm.
Spiritual bypassing would be if I'm just sitting there checking in, touching in, and all right, okay, no. I know I can be gratitude. I know I've got
Yeah.
things grateful for. So let me just go there, because
Yeah.
that's positive and that feels better. All that's true. There is so much to be grateful for, even when there's other junk coming up, right?
Yeah.
But you cannot
Mm-hmm.
be there in that gratitude truly and cleanly until you deal with the other stuff. And it's not
Yeah.
always going to be clean, and it's not always going to be pretty, but deal with it. And as I've said before, I've had my moments where I get on the fear-based narrative of like, what if this happens? What if that happens? How many miles can I go in this car? How many miles will an extra can of gas get
Yeah.
me? And like that sort of crazy thought, like, all right, how can I get up to my buddy in Oregon and like wide open spaces and like all this sort of stuff, right? And like, I've been
Yeah.
there, I go there, and then I just try to bring myself back to the present moment. I deal with it. I say, okay, why am I experiencing this? What is this? And look, you're gonna feel, when you hear about people dying and you hear specific stories and things like that, it's scary and it's sad, and that's real, and we don't have to bypass that.
Mm-mm.
You don't have to be of the mindset that this is all going to create this is all for a better purpose without being sad. Like, you can be sad and still know it's all for a greater purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever this is, as hard as it may be to accept this, I believe that this is all in divine order.
Yes.
And sometimes that means
and
death too.
choose to believe that
Mm.
or not.
Right.
And
Yeah.
we honor you if you believe that, and we honor you if you don't believe that.
Yeah.
It's loving compassion
And if
all
you just watch this show to make fun of us and say it's all bullshit, that's a view.
Right.
That's a listen. Keep it coming.
Well, yeah, and just to clarify too, like, we're not preaching like, dude, look, it's all for a better purpose, and just know that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that that's how I feel.
Yeah.
And what I am preaching or encouraging you to do, or inviting you to do, is to just check in with yourself, feel how you're feeling, let that be, and let others be feeling as they are too, and just don't sugarcoat everything.
Yeah.
Don't be blind to what's going on. Process it, go through the wave and the myriad of emotions that are bubbling up inside of you, because this is intense, man.
Mhm.
Like this is all a lot, and that's why we want to talk about it and do it, and do a segment on the show about it, and that's part of what this show is for.
So
So beautiful too. I mean, personally, just if this thing never aired, I mean, this is amazing for me. I feel, I mean, so much. I just feel open now for the rest of my day.
It's so nice. Me
that's
too.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Me
just a
too.
it's just a friendly conversation. It's just a friendly conversation, and you don't have to be here like with us recording this friendly conversation in order to be a part of it. You are a part of it, right? Because
Hmm.
we're all connected in some type of way, especially when you write to us. So,
Yeah.
segue. One of our listeners, Yasmin,
Oh
she
yeah.
did write to us. She wrote us a really beautiful comment
On the
on
YouTube.
YouTube. Basically, she had a question and a little bit to say. And so, before we wrap up this episode, I do want to touch on that because that's very important to us. And we are so
Yeah.
appreciative, Yasmin, for your openness and vulnerability. So, thank you on behalf of yourself
Yeah.
and for everyone else, who's
Uh,
going to reap the benefits of this. So,
Perfect. So, Bo, do your Yasmin Joyce. Do your Yasmin.
Yasmin
Oh.
Wild wrote, "OMG, I love this. Uh, so on point to just be able to just talk and be accepting of your partners, children, twins. Shout out, she's got twins too. So
No, she
really
just has boobs.
talking about the girls, or anyone's emotions. Not only accepting but validating, I think, is key. Totally agree. We are so primed to devalue people's emotions. So that's beautiful.
Oh.
Some questions for y'all. How do you feel about empaths and people of different emotional types?
Mm.
I myself very am very empathetic, and I tell people, and they don't understand it. So I want to see what your take is on it. Keep up the good work. I'm loving this. We're loving you, Yasmin Wild.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you so
love
much.
it.
So cool to read these comments.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, like, just because not everybody knows what an empath is. Empaths, they're deeply sensitive people, and very attuned with their own emotions, and but more so, it's about being so viscerally affected by other people's emotions, meaning you take on and feel other people's emotions, like you can feel it physically in your body.
Hmm.
And there's varying degrees of it. Everybody, except for sociopaths.
Yeah.
Known a couple in my life,
Yeah. Me
and
too, buddy.
and but everybody to some degree is empathic. I would say, but it's varying degrees. Some people are really affected by it, like they have a tough time going out in large crowds,
Mm.
and they need to seclude themselves a lot. And because they do so viscerally feel other people's emotions, and it's difficult for them to create those boundaries.
and people are drawn to them. So even though
Right.
it's hard for them to create that boundary, it's just this energetically, people are like, "Oof, I want to come to you."
Yeah.
There's no like uh,
Yeah.
separation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's
Yeah.
interesting because I'm incredibly empathic, and I mean, I like to the point where like I identify as an empath, as and it's a very odd thing to tell people, but like seeing somebody in pain, emotionally can really, really deeply affect my day, and I think it's so funny that you said the large crowds thing because I've never thought about it. But when I am around lots of people, I think it's why I channel it into like if I'm in front of large crowds, I'm doing comedy and making
Mhm.
everyone in the room feel better. And
Right.
or around children because a child's joy just like feeds my soul, my empathic soul of like, oh, how wonderful and refreshing and innocent and beautiful a child's laughter is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
um, and it's a very difficult thing to deal with, and I love that she asked that because you can really hurt yourself being an empath,
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
if you are around the wrong energy, if you're dating someone with the wrong energy, if you are in a toxic environment, like I've had jobs where I've taken a way worse job at times in my life because a way better job had such a toxic boss or environment that
Mhm.
I my soul couldn't live there.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
I've taken pay cuts in my life because of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which also is an important thing to know, because I would rather be rich in my mind, heart, and spirit, because then whatever I'm passionate about gets all the love,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
even when I'm making less money. Because if my soul's crushed and I'm making good money, it doesn't serve me.
Mm-hmm. That's the truth. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah. So anyways, that's my thoughts on
I believe
empaths and
that
stuff.
you have a question.
No, no, I was going to ask if you identify as an empath.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think we all do in this group.
Yeah.
But definitely, and I think that as an empathic person, when you are aware of that within yourself, as Yasmin, you say that you are aware of that within yourself, you have an added responsibility
Mm.
in this life, and that can be kind of heavy sometimes, but you could it's two things, right? Because we're talking about duality, it's heavy, but it's also such a gift, and
Mm,
you bring that gift and that responsibility to everyone around you, including your children, um, and then whoever you're interacting with in your work, in your career, which could be many people, depending on what you do. So in this added responsibility, because you are so emotionally open, you need to learn to conserve, preserve, and then surround yourself maybe with like 3 layers of white light. Like
mm-hmm.
find some way to ground and collect yourself, because
Yeah.
that's also invading other people's privacy. So
Mm.
I'm not responsible for Bo's energy. I feel it and it sucks sometimes. It,
I love it.
it does. No, it does. It sucks. And I'll
Nobody
say it like
invited you.
that.
My energy didn't even want your energy.
Yeah.
Well, look at our example of this morning, right? So I
Mhm.
was trying to choose peace, but you weren't ready to do that. And so it
Yeah.
was difficult for me to keep trying to choose peace, because I still have an ego and I can
Right.
still feel your pain, and I don't want you to feel pain. So I'm eager to
Mm,
help you and I'm eager to pull you with me. So I'm
Mhm.
feeling your pain and I'm trying to change and manipulate your pain
mm-hmm.
and heal and help. And you know what? Just stop. Put up
Yeah.
those layers of white light, allow you to feel what you feel, and I do not need to take that on. And so keep checking in with yourself. Is this my energy or is this your energy? Is
Mhm.
this my business or is this that person's business? And then you can energetically close that door and say, I'm not taking this on. Breathe in some grounding, some positivity, whatever you want to breathe in. Breathe into your own love, your own light, and then breathe out what is not yours.
Mhm.
Mm,
Yeah.
that's beautiful.
And that's hard. That's not easy. You keep working and working and trying,
Yeah.
and you figure
That's
out what to do.
that's
Yeah.
beautiful though. What a great comment to have gotten as well.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
just quickly, I think that part of being an empath and the positivity of it is you can do so much for other people.
Yeah.
Um, when I was part of a group healing session, and that's kind of where I discovered, and this was recently, um, how empathic I am, because there was work being done. So we were all a bunch of dudes focused around this other man, right?
Yeah, just
And
playing
we're
naked
all doing something.
Twister.
Yeah, yeah. And all this stuff was coming up for him, and he was being treated by the person who was facilitating it. And but the people, the men on the outside of the circle, sort of there to support, right? And so there was sometimes you'd be laying hands on the person, kind of giving them that grounding energy. Sometimes I would just be back from the group and like holding my hands out and feeling what they're experiencing, and empathizing with them and giving them my love and support and warmth and healing energy. And I mean, it was kinetic. Like I felt it. And not only that, but I felt what they were experiencing. And it takes a lot of strength to be able to do that. and to be able to hold it together. And there were other people, everybody in this group was affected by whatever healing was happening in the center. And there were some people that were reduced to a ball of tears because their own stuff was coming up, or they were taking on so much of what that other person was. So as Cassidy said, it's a lot of responsibility, and it's a lot of work, but it's so powerful, and you can heal others, and you can also receive healing from others. So remember that too. You can receive the good from others as well. And it is so important for you to take care of yourself, because as Cassidy's saying, with like the veils of white light and things like that, and the protective layers, like take care of yourself, focus on yourself too. Take that time to care for yourself, because it's everything starts with you. So yeah.
We can even expand upon this in another episode. I know Jeffrey J, being the empath that he is, has a lot of things that he does to care for himself, to nurture himself and ground himself. For example, nutrition. He's aware of root vegetables or specific things that help add into that grounding process to understand what's my energy and what's yours. And there are different healing modalities like craniosacral therapy that we can get into.
Yeah.
I'm dropping names.
Every time you say something hippy dippy, I'm like, I just get excited. I just feel like there's so much. And as soon as we start talking about one thing, I think about, what about this thing? And our
Yeah.
topic list is so long, and I love it. I love it so much. It's
Yeah.
just all so exciting.
Yeah. And keep telling us, guys, what you want to hear, because we're open to it and we love it. And it
Yeah.
helps form us, and gives us new ideas and new inspiration. And yeah, it's what we need to hear too. So thank you for introducing new
Yeah.
ideas.
And I also want to say it's not just ideas, but also experiences. So if there are some
Yeah.
experiences out there or some people that you trust and you want to share, please share them with us.
Yeah.
I'm open to trying out different plant medicines, y'all. So
Yeah, or it's like there's somebody that you follow on YouTube that you love or whatever. I go into those rabbit holes all the time, and it's so wonderful to find all the other hippy dippy people in the universe there who, maybe you're somebody who found us because you have your own show. Send us your stuff. I'm way too open-minded.
That's so funny. Yeah, and find us on Instagram at Hippie Dippy Show. That's HIPPIE Dippy Show, or Hippie Dippy Show at gmail.com, if you want to reach out to us that way. And now let's close with a little meditation.
Close with a little meditation. I just want to start off our meditation with some gratitude. Jeffrey G, I'm grateful for you for bringing up bullet journaling last week, because look at these.
Yes!
A bullet journal here, and
Yes!
it's been quite awesome. I mean, I really haven't got that far, but honestly, I've wrote like 3 sentences in here, and I had a major download that day. So I'm very excited about this is my little grandma here. It was her
I
birthday.
love it. Are you gonna? That's so cool. We will talk about this even more off the podcast, but that makes my heart happy.
Yes, thank you. Because I had a lot of resistance there and a little bit of judgment on that episode. Journaling, weak. Can we talk about something else?
I know.
Honest to
I
God,
love it.
completely honest. That's what I thought.
I
But
love
it's true. And this past week, journaling has been huge for me. So again, why was I so critical? Why was I so rigid? Because there needed to be some growth there. And I figured it out, and here we are, totally inspired.
Yeah. And it's gonna be your own version of it too. Gosh, yours is gonna be so different from mine. And that's what makes it so fun too. No one likes doing something that you gotta plan. But if it's yours, like, hey, it's not a bullet journal. How dare you? It was my thing I came up with.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so listeners, if you're driving, please don't close your eyes. Let's always start with that. If you're at home, I invite you to plant your feet on the floor, and then close down your eyes or just soften your gaze. Take a deep breath and fill up with oxygen, fill up with light, fill up with vitality and life force. Pause at the top of your breath. Try to hold it just a couple seconds, and then exhale, open mouth. Good. Inhale like this. And this time, let's slow down the inhale. So a little bit more mindfulness, a little bit more choice and control. Pause at the top. Sip a little more. And then exhale, open mouth. Give some of your energy a voice and outlet. Let go of all that does not serve your highest good and purpose. And then let's return to our natural state of breath and take a moment to connect with the energy from your touch in. See if that energy is still active, or maybe if you've transitioned into a different state. And then whatever energy you're working with, wrap 3 layers of love and kindness around it. So maybe you're working with some peace, wrap love and kindness around that peace, amplify that peace. Maybe you're working with some grief or sadness, anger, frustration. Wrap 3 layers of love and kindness around that and allow it to soak in, right? Soak deep, deep into your core, to your essence. And then take one more deep breath, filling up with what is, leaning into what is rather than resisting it. And exhale, allow everything to be just as it is. Blink open your eyes or come back into a state of awareness. Allow a smile to grace your lips, always. A teethy smile, I want to see those teeth. Maybe a little bit of laughter. And here we are.
That was beautiful. You guys, thank you so much. Your openness has just changed my day. So, if nothing else comes from it, being as open and honest as you have been with me today has completely altered and brightened my world. So, I appreciate you.
And we're just mirrors for one another. So you did that same thing for us. Everything you said directly applies to us too. So thank you, Jeff, for your openness, and thank you, listeners, for engaging with us. Even if you're not sending us comments, thank you for being present with your energy and bringing that to the show, because we feel it. That's the truth. I feel you guys as we do the show. So take that for something hippy dippy. And we love you guys, and tell a friend.
Yeah. Bye.
Love you guys. See
Love
you
you
next
guys.
week.
Bye.